Good morning from Gdańsk. We are not starting yet. It is a piece of technical information. We will be starting in 5 minutes, but the session is already recorded. And welcome everybody. We will start in a minute. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here from Gdańsk, the current headquarters of the Baltic Sea State Sub-Regional Cooperation. My name is Krystyna Wróblewska, and I'm currently Secretary General of the BSSSC. And I'm honored to welcome everybody to the first in history online conference of the BSSSC, even though it is already the 28th meeting of our family. And we are meeting under the general title, Strong and Inclusive Cooperation in the Baltic Sea Region, now more than ever. Before I pass the floor to Mr. Chairman, I'd like to share with you some technical information. First of all, very warm request to all the participants. If you are not speaking, please keep your microphones switched off. And when you are going to speak, please remember to switch them on. And please take note that there is a possibility to chat with us. And we encourage you to ask questions and comments using this chat. Now, I will pass the floor to Mr. Mieczysław Struk, who is Marshal of the Pomorskie Voivodeship in Poland, and he is the current chairman of the BSSSC. He will open the conference with his introductory remarks. Mr. Marshal.
Parliamentary Conference, Council of the Baltic Sea States, European Commission, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation, dear partners from the Baltic Sea region, dear youth, ladies and gentlemen. We are meeting at the 28th Annual Conference of the Baltic Sea States Sub-Regional Cooperation. When planning it, we were happy to be invited to Kaliningrad. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has forced us to redefine our plans. We had a choice to skip this year's conference or move online. We have decided that it is necessary to maintain effective collaboration and for that, continuous contact. Even in the online version, it's necessary. As the title says, strong and inclusive cooperation in the Baltic Sea region, now more than ever. Thank you for being with us. We are at a kind of a borderline with the still new European Commission and many new key European policies, new policies and plans for the Baltic Sea region, more demanding social, political and economic challenges. And on top of that, pandemic. And as Ursula von der Leyen stated in her State of the Union 2020 report, it is the moment for Europe to lead the way from this fragility towards a new vitality. We believe the same for the Baltic Sea region. Therefore, we follow with great interest the new policies and plans which will be shaping Europe and this region for several years to come. And we are doing our best to be involved in the governance as much as possible and in implementation. We think that it is important now look at the Baltic Sea region from the European perspective and discuss against this background the strategic plans in the key Baltic documents, namely the European Union strategy for the Baltic Sea region and its revised action plan, as well as a comparable Russian document for the Northwest regions, as well as the territorial agenda being a strategic planning policy, being a strategic policy document for Europe. And on top of that, we believe it would be important to look at the highlights of the Interreg programs and projects on the basis of the experience till now, discuss the ideas and plans for future cooperation. When looking at the EU policies, we welcome the updated green targets and the path towards a digital decade of Europe, and in this connection appreciate the European digital strategy, hoping it will support innovative solutions, smart development and job creation. European Green Deal is a very ambitious package indeed, but we do need it to save the planet Earth for generations to come. And it is promising to see the results of the Eurobarometer survey of March of this year. 94% surveyed citizens in all the EU member states say protecting the environment is important to them. 91% of citizens state that climate change is a serious problem in the EU. 78% of respondents believe that environment has a direct influence on their daily life and health. The survey also examined attitudes to the clothing industry and found high levels of concern on how we produce, transport, and use. This gives us to right, as I see it, to go the ambitious path, but the same time, we have to improve education, information, and promotion of our goals and reasons for them. We definitely have to strengthen trust in scientific research and improve critical thinking. The quoted results also prove that our choice of parallel sessions on circular economy with the stress put on the fashion sector and on plastic polluting the sea has been the right one. We hope to learn more about the new circular economy action plan too. As the cohesion policy is at the center of green and digital recovery, No wonder it is so important also to us, the regional level. We welcome the reinforcement of the cohesion policy and will appreciate a more decentralized approach. We have received with appreciation the REACT EU initiative of 55 billion euro. I'm proud to say that at the October session of the Committee of the Regions, I'm presenting our opinion on the REACT EU package. Talking about cohesion, we are looking forward to the new territorial agenda 2030 with its two objectives of just and Green Europe, about which we will hear more tomorrow and which hopefully will help us achieve a more inclusive and sustainable future. We are looking forward to the strong role of regional and local actors in it. Territorial cohesion and development require adequate transportation solution, and in this respect, we welcome the new sustainable and smart mobility strategy. Again, we will hear more during one of the parallel sessions still today. Just after the introductory part, we will hear about the European Union strategy for the Baltic Sea region and its revised action plan, and hopefully also some comments on how these documents relates to the strategic plans for the Russian Federation, an important neighbor with our common Baltic. Again, we strive for a strong role of regional authorities in both implementation and governance as possible. I will not go further on this issue now. We have a better speaker on that in the second part today. I will only mention that we are looking forward to the annual forum of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region in October. We find very promising the idea of having the multidisciplinary workshops and teams around them. We are looking forward to the results and are pleased that the BSSSC is a part of the discussion. At this point, I definitely need to mention the Council of the Baltic Sea States and Baltic Sea Parliamentary Conference. We cherish to be your partner organizations. I only wish we could really meet face to face to discuss common plans and ideas. Online mode is appreciated and helpful, but definitely cannot replace real life contact. We appreciate the CBSS reform process and are looking forward to the Vilnius Declaration to be due this December. We, the BSSSC, are thrilled to be a part of the Baltic Sea Youth Platform initiative born during the BSSSC Youth Camp and implemented under the leadership of CBSS in cooperation with other Baltic Sea region organizations. Our BSSSC network and the youth have done our best to contribute to the joint program, which is to be a part of the youth event just within the Baltic Strategy Forum. The BSSSC Autumn Youth Event of last week was a three-day discussion marathon in preparation to tackle today's conference and the forum topics. When talking about the youth, they are with us to share their opinions during the sessions. we are doing our best to empower them and hope they will use to possibility to the full. Looking for the best possible solutions when it comes to the youth involvement, we are also looking forward to the manifesto for young people by young people to shape to the European territorial cooperation to be presented to the European Commission on October 15-16 during the Interreg annual event. We hope our youth will take the opportunity and be a part of the initiative and implementation process. And last but not least, I would like to draw our attention to culture. We have a session on this area of our life too, and cooperate in this respect with the CBSS. The Baltic Culture City initiative looks very promising. It is promising to notice that one of the workshops in preparation for the EU strategy Baltic Sea for the Baltic Sea region is devoted to culture and its influence on the health. But still, I think we should put more attention to culture both within the EU and Baltic Sea region. Culture is about humanity and values. It makes us human beings, teaches empathy and tenderness, builds our imaginations. And we need all that in the world where human and democratic values, rule of law, which is to serve us all and protect minorities, are questioned, and where we tend to forget what such an important word as solidarity means. Let us discuss that during those 2 days. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, as our BSSSC tradition requires, with this copy of the bell from Novgorod, the Great, consider the conference open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marshall, Mr. Chair. The conference is open as the bell has rang. And now we would have an opportunity to listen to a recorded message from Mr. Linas Linkevicius, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Lithuania. And Lithuania, as we may know, is now having the presidency of the Council of the Baltic Sea States. It is an honor to us to be able to listen to it.
Okay, I will now share the video message. So please, just one more minute.
members of the Baltic Sea States Sub-Regional Cooperation. It's a great pleasure for me to address your annual conference on behalf of the current Lithuanian Presidency of the Council of the Baltic Sea States. Let me start with sincere thanks to the Chairman, Mieczysław Struk, Marszałek Województwa Pomorskiego, for his kind letter congratulating me on taking over the presidency of the CBSS as of July 1st, 2020. The CBSS is an important player in the region, so it's our task to ensure that the organization has opportunity to shape a united response and strategy in the present challenging situation. It's our task to direct it toward concrete actions in the areas where the CBSS is uniquely suited to add value. It's our task to make CBSS platform available for the broader dialogue with all regional organizations on issues facing our region, such as COVID-19 outbreak, youth engagement, environment and climate-related challenges, and cross-border organized crime. The Bornholm Declaration, adopted at a high-level meeting during the Danish presidency, gave the CBSS a clear indication in what direction the Baltic Sea region should move. The revised terms of reference of the Council of the Baltic Sea States and Secretariat, adopted together with the Bornholm Declaration, gave us the necessary tools to act. While dealing with present circumstances, we also have to look into the future. It has been 10 years since the Vilnius Declaration envisioning the state of the Baltic Sea region by 2020 was adopted by the heads of government of the CBSS member states. We are preparing a new Vilnius Declaration vision of the Baltic Sea region until 2030. We strongly believe that this vision will provide us with even more coherent framework for continued strong cooperative efforts and actions in the region in all policy areas. A strong willingness and continuous commitment by all regional actors. Thank you very much.
We are back again on Vision. Once again, thank you to Mr. and his team for separating us with the message and with the film. Now, Mr. Pyryniemi from Sweden, the new president of the Baltic Sea States Parliamentary Conference, will be our speaker. And I will just mention to those who might not remember that BSPC was established already in 1991 as a forum of political dialogue between parliamentarians from the Baltic Sea. Mr. Pyryniemi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Dear Marshal and Chairman of the BSSSC, Struk, Excellencies, colleagues, government representatives and friends. It's a great pleasure for me to address you all online today. Of course, I would very much have preferred to be meeting all of you in person and face to face. I'm happy that the current pandemic situation is not stopping us from holding events such as the annual conferences of our organizations. Especially now, when we can hardly predict the implementation of large events in the long term due to the increased infection rates. It's all the more necessary that these events take place. The COVID-19 pandemic requires enhanced cooperation among all levels of society and various stakeholders. As several regions begin to deal with the second wave of COVID-19, we have a crucial role in shaping our response to the pandemic through legislative policymaking, oversight, and advocacy roles. Moreover, due to the global nature of the crisis and the deep interconnectedness of societies and economies, we crucially need close cooperation on an international and regional level for a coordinated approach rooted in solidarity and mutual support. That is why I'm very grateful to you, Marshal Struck, as chairman of the BSSSC, for addressing the parliamentarians of the Baltic Sea region with the core concerns, and during our annual conference on 24th of August. We are pursuing similar goals and objectives, and I'm confident that we will make significant progress in these areas through synergies in our approaches. Since you know the main results of the BSPC from yesterday's meeting of your board, I would like to concentrate today on the priorities of the Swedish BSPC presidency, which we want to discuss at our 30th annual conference from 29th to 31st August 2021 in Stockholm. During our presidency, we will focus on sustainable democracy and how to face common challenges in a changing world. We do not only want to emphasize that because of the Swedish Parliament's celebration of 100 years of democracy. We see the more than urgent need to address not only the preservation of our livelihoods, but also the fundamental issues of democratic coexistence due to the demanding challenges that are currently threatening our livelihoods and our coexistence, the rapidly changing communication structures and media landscapes, as well as the worrying interventions in the democratic forms of several countries. The intensification of violent conflicts and the noticeable increase in human rights violations. We wish all those fighting for democracy and more democratic structures in their countries that they find peaceful success. The severe challenges of COVID-19 have also brought fundamental issues of our coexistence with our neighbors into public debate. For that very reason, we should learn from each other's experiences in overcoming the crisis. We should not only keep an eye on our own countries, but rely more on best practice examples in the future. Especially in times like this, it's essential to keep reminding ourselves what a valuable asset we have in our democracies and how important it is to defend the cornerstones. We cannot highlight enough the importance of democracy and the need to strengthen the parliamentary dimension in our countries. Democratic institutions, strong cooperation, and environmental and social sustainability are the foundation of BSPC's work. Preserving these are clear priorities of the Swedish presidency. During the upcoming year, we will focus on 4 areas related to achieving sustainable democracy. First of all, we want to concentrate our joint work on peaceful and reliable neighborliness and intense cooperation built on participation and trust in the democratic system. That is why we have reaffirmed in our resolution the urgent call and the expectation that all Baltic Sea states continue to make every effort to ensure the Baltic Sea region maintains its close and intense cooperation. We have underlined that the basis of our collaboration, international law, mutual understanding, trust, democratic values, the rule of law, human rights, as well as equal opportunities for all is of particular importance. Around us, we see various new forms of political engagement, and during our Swedish BSPC presidency, we will focus specifically on youth and the role of civil society. I'm glad that these aspects are also at the heart of BSSSC's work. With current challenges, decreasing trust in traditional democratic mechanisms, you have pointed out the demand for an even more active and concerted approach. I also appreciate very much that you already realized a seminar on democracy and a youth event back-to-back to our annual conference to involve young people in our consultations even more strongly and topic-oriented. we are looking at similar steps. We consider the BSSSC in terms of youth involvement through board meetings, youth camps, and back-to-back events for annual conference, as well as the Nordic Youth Council as best practice examples of youth work in the Baltic Sea region. We are optimistic that the current focus of the Lithuanian CBSS presidency on youth inclusion and the Baltic Youth Platform, established by the CBSS, will bring significant progress in the representation of young people in institutions and decision-making processes in the Baltic Sea region. The BSPC has repeatedly called for that. The second theme we want to explore is greater depth during our presidency in the issue of democracy in a changing media landscape. Digitization, disinformation, and fake news are playing an increasingly important role in our daily lives. So it's now more important than ever to protect free media and freedom of speech. Our third focal point will be adaptation to new demographics and challenges to the welfare model. The demographic situation in the Baltic Sea region is changing. The question is how to best adapt to this and how this will challenge our welfare model. How are urbanization, an aging population, and labor shortages connected to trust in public institutions, social and regional equality, and young people's opportunities? How can we, in the Baltic Sea region, tackle these challenges sustainably and democratically? Our fourth pillar is a theme where the BSPC have a long tradition of commitment and engagement: the environment. For many years, we have repeatedly addressed far-reaching demands to our governments to protect our natural life resources in the best possible way, and in that the Baltic Sea that unites us returns closer to good ecological status. We have achieved much here over the years, but developments have been so rapid that we must again and again take new and more far-reaching measures to move closer to these objectives. That is why I'm glad that we will focus during the next 2 years on the issue of climate change and biodiversity in a BSPC working group chaired by my colleague Cecilia Tenfjord-Toftby. We want to concentrate not only on the environmental side of climate change and biodiversity, but also on innovation, technology, and further economic aspects. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted that our two institutions, BSSSC and BSPC, have most similar or identical priorities for the coming year. That shows that we are focusing on strategically fundamental challenges. Sharing the same basic views in many respects helps us to find similar and joint contributions to solving the current problems. Those synergies allow us to meet the present challenges in the best possible way and to strengthen peaceful cooperation and our democratic values in the Baltic Sea region, to enhance our prosperity further and to make the Baltic Sea region a more attractive place to live. Our long-standing cooperation is a good foundation for this. Thank you for your attention. I hope that we will all be able to meet face-to-face again in person as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your very important words and very kind address to the BSSC. And it is really important for us, the BSSC board and all the partners, to share the same priorities. And democracy being one of them. As a matter of fact, I think it's good to notice that as we are speaking now, there is a creative bureaucracy festival going on online, originated in Berlin and then continued in Brussels, where they are also discussing how to improve and promote democratic values through various levels. Thank you very much. Now I would pass the floor to Mr. Ambassador Poznański, Director General of the Council of the Baltic Sea States. The floor is yours, Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Panie Marszałku, Mr. President of the BSPC, Madam Secretary General, distinguished speakers and guests. It's good to be back to Gdańsk, even virtually. It is my pleasure to represent the CBSS at this annual conference. Annual conference of the BSSSC, which is our long-standing and valuable cooperation partner. The cooperation between our organization has been going for many years and allowed us to bring successful initiatives, such as already mentioned today, Baltic Sea Youth Platform. I want to thank you for completing this excellent panel for the introductory session of the conference. If we wish to discuss strong and inclusive cooperation in the Baltic Sea region, now more than ever, we are in the right company here today. BSSSC as an expression of the regional or sub-regional cooperation, BSPC, the parliamentary leg of this cooperation, Lithuanian presidency, the governmental level, European Commission, Russian MFA. To complement the picture, we could imagine also representatives of Northern Dimension, HELCOM, Union of the Baltic Cities, Baltic Sea Commission, and many others. And as I see in the program, they are all present in this or other form at this annual forum. That only shows that we are all together in these endeavors. It's true that we have many organizations and formats of cooperation in the region. Some point at this fact as our weakness. I see it differently. It is strength of our region. We have many actors, and each specializes successfully in different domains. They quickly adapt to the changing challenges, and we all cooperate in numerous endeavors. The key words are complementarity and collaboration, and not competition. And being at least virtually in Gdańsk, one has to add the word solidarity. As 40 years ago, workers and intellectuals of then communist Poland came together and created a movement which stood against Communist Party that ultimately led to peaceful revolution and democracy in Poland and tearing down of the Iron Curtain in Europe. The same today, we all around the Baltic Sea must come together, exercise the spirit of solidarity and collaboration, and make this region more safe and secure, more prosperous and developing in a sustainable way, resilient and inclusive. A region we are all proud of. We need to come together as today and for example, in 3 weeks during the annual forum of the European Union strategy for the Baltic Sea region, which CBSS proudly co-organizes. We need that now more than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, in spirit of collaboration and solidarity, the spirit of collaboration and solidarity is evident in the long-term CBSS and BSSSC cooperation, and I would say synergic partnership. Our common goals are to foster sustainable development in the region and strengthen the Balticness. That is our special regional identity. In February, the CBSS and BSSSC and other strong partners in the region have established the Baltic Sea Youth Forum, which helped to implement our common key goal by empowering young region builders to take part in regional policy making and shaping our future. Therefore, we gladly participated in BSSSC Autumn Youth event as an active partner, and we are glad that the voice of the youth will be strong during this annual conference. Another field of strong ties between our organization is cultural cooperation. The CBSS is happy to be facilitating a common workshop on the Baltic Sea Cultural Cities project at this annual conference. We hope to make this endeavor, which is a grassroots project, known to a wider audience and enable the local and sub-regional actors to get involved and shape the project. The CBSS is deeply convinced that the Baltic Sea Cultural City or region is a new impulse to initiative in innovative ways of showing our unique cultural heritage our cultural talent and diversity, and our strong creative industries to our citizens in the region and beyond. A common Baltic Sea identity, or our Balticness, builds on not on conviction that around the Baltic Sea we all should be the same, but rather on drawing the strength from our diversity and ability to come together to build a better future for our common region. In our unique position of bringing together both EU and neighboring non-EU members, the CBSS and BSSSC create bridges between the EU and northwestern Russia. Our aim is to support the cooperation between multi-level stakeholders, especially in the areas where such cooperation is needed, and improves the efficiency of the EU SBSR and addresses the interests of the both. BSSSC has been actively involved into coordination group of the EU SBSR horizontal area neighbors, coordinated by the CBSS jointly with the city of Turku. We are aware that the process of revising the strategy for northwestern Russian territories is ongoing, but we are not stopping in interaction in the meantime. It is important to continue this work. Sustainable development of the Baltic Sea region unite our efforts. One of the CBSS activities in which the BSSSC is actively engaged is our expert groups on sustainable maritime economy and on sustainable development. Within the latter, the BSSSC, together with other pan-Baltic organizations, has contributed a lot to develop the Baltic 2030 action plan, highlighting the role of regions and youth in the accomplishment of the 2030 agenda. An example of an initiative which cuts across both our organization and various areas of cooperation was the youth camp of the EU. An event within the framework of the annual forum of 2019 was co-organized by the BSSSC, and during that camp, climate and sustainable development goals were the topic in focus. And CBSS was happy to provide all necessary support in this regard. This is an initiative which not only cut across our shared goals, but also across the CBSS long-term priorities, bringing youth and sustainable development together. Both BSSSC and CBSS should continue promoting sustainable development goals, localization, and coordination of young initiatives following the guidance of the 2030 Agenda and the Baltic 2030 Action Plan. Another important cross-cutting field of cooperation is climate. CBSS is in its capacity of coordinator of the horizontal area climate within the EU strategy, and the Climate Roundtable platform is putting a lot of efforts in this important field. Climate change and energy security are among the top priorities highlighted by the new Commission, as it was mentioned earlier. The Baltic Sea region has developed substantive knowledge to address these questions. However, we need all levels of governance to take strong political commitment and to promote action to address both climate mitigation and adaptation. BSSSC and its members regions can do a lot, for example, by strategically addressing multimodal transport systems and by better focusing on the synergies between the mitigation and adaptation measures, also in the maritime questions. Coming back to an issue raised before, that is our shared role in cooperation with non-EU member states, the 2030 Agenda provides a common platform and common framework for cooperation between all countries of the Baltic Sea region, namely through the implementation of 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is an urgent call for action for all Baltic Sea region countries towards sustainability and social welfare of entire Baltic Sea region. This aim can be achieved only by joint efforts. Together with stakeholders coming from the northwestern Russia regions, many of which we are the BSSSC members, as well as the EU, the CBSS has taken initiative to draft a joint action plan for sustainability and of the Baltic Sea region. This work will start at the online workshop on the 6th of October in the framework of the EUSBSR annual forum. The workshop will gather key actors from the Baltic Sea region, including representatives from cooperation platforms, cities and regions, in order to discuss the roadmap and the possibility to draft joint action plan for sustainability of the region, as well as instruments and resources needed for that purpose. This summer, a survey for stakeholders coming from northwestern Russia regions was carried out regarding prioritized areas for international cooperation in the Baltic Sea region. 7 areas have been defined, covering environment, tourism and culture, youth cooperation, labor and employment, and healthcare, education, and science. The areas are also very much in line with sustainable development objectives of all other regional organizations and formats around the Baltic Sea region. With all those mentioned initiatives, the CBSS and BSSSC cooperate closely together for the sake of all inhabitants of our region. Having in mind that the joint actions not only fit well within 2 of the CBSS long-term priorities, but are also very much in line with the BSSSC Pomorskie chairmanship for 2020 and 2021, I look forward to further cooperation between our organizations in working on our common goals and projects, especially that we need a well-focused and concrete action on bringing all players around the Baltic Sea, those who are EU members and Russia, Norway and Iceland. We need that. And of course, we need that more than ever. Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, the ongoing COVID pandemic has highlighted the importance of cooperation and mutual understanding on various levels. In this way, we can together build stronger, more resilient societies, which would be better prepared for crises of this kind in the future. Safe and secure region, the third CBSS long-term priority, might at first place seem not to be connected to the areas which we cooperate closely with the B. But I think there is much more that we can do together in these areas. Let me give you a few examples. Our CBSS units develop projects which connect both youth and sustainable development, which are our common areas of work with the BSSSC. At the CBSS Secretariat during last year, the team working on the civil security issues, along with the Sustainable Development Unit, have established a partnership consisting of experts from both fields and have developed a project named Cascade, Community Safety Action for Supporting Climate Adaptation and Development, led by the Union of the Baltic Cities Sustainable Cities Commission. But this project is aiming to create improved knowledge about the Baltic Sea region, macro-regional and city level, about the climate change risks. CBSS Civil Security Initiative, connected to one of our areas of cooperation, is namely youth, is a project developed together with the Children at Risk Unit. It's called CHY Resilience. As the frequency of natural disasters increase, children and youth vulnerability to them is also expected to increase. Our project aims at empower both youth and children to play an active role as contributors to societal resilience, as well as to remove barriers to their active involvement in prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. The project will investigate children and youth participation in building resilient societies and the factors which influence it both positively and negatively. And we definitely hope that other organizations, regional organizations, could participate in that project. When speaking of inclusive cooperation, we must not only think of youth, but also remember that community resilience and inclusive societies mean being aware of the heightened risk and crises that bring to vulnerable populations, such as victims of human trafficking, asylum seekers, refugees and other groups, and to ensure that the most vulnerable are protected and assisted. And CBSS is providing guidance and tools to local actors, municipalities, on how to improve quality assistance and services, especially in the area of rights-based approaches, community-based long-term integration, socio-economic empowerment, and real livelihood alternatives. CBSS also promotes the establishment of cooperation of multidisciplinary and integrated services for child victims and witnesses of violence, so-called Barnacus, by facilitating exchange, dialogue, and training. In order to address challenges related to building resilience and safer Baltic Sea region, a macro-regional approach based on cooperation is needed, both because we can learn from each other, but also because coherence between efforts is needed. The CBSS Secretariat facilitates cooperation between actors, stakeholders, and networks in the region through coordinating the policy area secure in the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region. The CBS platform, the Civil Protection Network, is also an important arena for building partnerships towards a more sustainable and resilient region. We would like to encourage local and regional governments, as well as NGOs, to cooperate with us and to make a good use of the results of our work. We need that cooperation, and needless to say, we need that more than ever. Marshal Struk, Panie Marszałku, distinguished guest, as I said at the beginning, the cooperation between various organizations in the Baltic Sea region should be based on complementarity and cooperation. I think it is safe to say that the cooperation between our two organizations, the CBSS and BSSSC, fulfills both those criteria and brings great effects. Joined by the Baltic Sea, or united by the Baltic Sea, we should continue to strive towards our common goals, creating a sustainable and prosperous region, united by our unique Baltic Sea identity, or Balticness. We need that now more than ever. Thank you for your attention.
I am very sorry, I was speaking to the closed microphone. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Dziękujemy bardzo, and we are really happy to cherish the synergy partnership that you have, that you were so kind to call it, and we are really happy also to hear that you share the opinion with us that there are not too many organizations cooperating in the Baltics region, because we think it's when people want to cooperate, it's good to allow them to do that. What's important is to have really complementarity and some kind of a coordination. I think it's happening already, also with the assistance and involvement of the CBSS. And as it happens, unfortunately, with the virtual world, some of us experienced some technical problems, and we got. Sorry, I was asked to stop. Can you hear me now?
Okay, now?
Okay, so you can hear me now. Sorry for that. Can you hear me now? Yes, okay, thank you very much for nodding. I've been just saying that some people experience technical problems, and it happened also that we do. We are sorry for that. And we got the message that our next speaker, Mr. Normund Poppens, is having problems joining us. Is it still the case, or are you with us, Mr. Director? We do not have response. I would like also to apologize to some of us because we have got message that some of us had some problems hearing the speech of Mr. Perniemi, but we will I understand, in agreement with the BSPC, put the speech on our webpage. And sorry for that. We understand it was some problem on the side of the speaker. Let's hope that we will not have more like that. And if we are still waiting for Mr. Poppens to appear, maybe we will change the order, and I would ask Mr. Sergei Petrovich from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from the Russian Federation to take the floor. And it is obvious, I think, to all of us, and it's been already said in all the speeches, that Baltic Sea cooperation is not just cooperation within the EU partners, but with all the neighboring countries, and definitely Russia and its let's say Baltic regions are extremely important here. So it's really important for all of us to listen to you sharing with us your point of view. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you very much. So do you hear me? Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Chairman of the BSSSC, Madam Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. First of all, participating at today's meeting as Russia's senior official at the Council of the Baltic Sea States, I would like to thank the presidency of Pomorskoye Voivodstvo in the Baltic Sea States Sub-Regional Cooperation for organizing this conference, despite of the challenges that we have been facing over the past months. The current crisis caused by the global pandemic has highlighted that all states, without exception, are interconnected and interdependent. And surely this may be observed particularly well at the level of sub-regions. Under these circumstances, it's essential not to lose the dynamics of our interaction. And the events like today's conference allow us to keep the pace of the cooperation. It's important to keep talking to each other and acting together. At the national level, the member states of the CBSS took account of this responsibility. And this is why in the midst of the crisis in May, the Council ministerial meeting was held, even though digitally, at the invitation of Denmark. For the first time in many years, every single member state was represented at this event at the level of the foreign minister. And this is a very important indication of our readiness to act together. Items on the agenda were all related to the main question: what can we do for the CBSS to be more efficient for the benefit of the people of the region, strategically and in short terms, taking into account the pandemic and also thinking in the broad context of the Baltic cooperation dynamics. Russia considers the CBSS as the primary forum for the multilateral intergovernmental cooperation in the Baltic Sea region and has consistently promoted systemic actions which would enable consolidated efforts to seek regional responses to global challenges with the CBSS. At the above-mentioned ministerial session, Russia suggested some concrete steps to strengthen the Baltic cooperation and increase the resilience in a change of the organization in a changing world. First and foremost, in our view, elaboration of a new strategic document for the development of the Baltic Sea region in the coming decade is a priority for our organization, and not only for the CBSS, but for the entire region. It should replace the 2010 Vilnius Declaration, which was adopted by the Prime Ministers of the Baltic Sea states at their meeting in Vilnius 10 years ago, and it should determine goals and objectives of our cooperation for the coming decade, taking into account the region's needs and new circumstances. Such a roadmap is a necessary prerequisite for moving forward. Russia has been advocating elaboration of such a document for a number of years, and we welcome the decision of the present Lithuanian chairmanship of the CBSS to draft the new version of the Vilnius Declaration by 2030, with a view to adopt this document by the end of the Lithuanian presidency in June next year. We believe also that resumption of the meetings of the heads of the government of the Baltic Sea countries is a sought-after step, particularly in the current situation. We are convinced that such summits are necessary. They allow discussing full range of issues of cooperation in the Baltic Sea region at the highest level and developing strategic solutions which would encompass entire regional cooperation architecture. Yet another measure shall be of particular interest for you. It's high time to establish a streamlined vertical cooperation in the region. I mean improved coordination and cohesion between the three levels of interaction in the Baltic Sea region: local, sub-regional, and national. The Union of the Baltic Cities, the BSSSC, and the CBSS seem to be natural partners in this regard. The work of your organization and that of the UBC is an important indicator of the regional affairs. It is at this level that we can best feel the pulse of the Baltic Sea cooperation, specific needs and interests of the people living here. And if there are signals from you, we shall definitely take note of them at the intergovernmental level. Let us be honest and recognize, today's our formats are operating more or less at their own, though our joint work could improve the efficiency of cooperation in the region. It would enable us to identify urgent projects and find an appropriate balance between priorities of states and interests and needs of individual regions and local authorities. There is a good example in our area. So, recent establishment of the Baltic Sea Youth Platform. It was a successful exercise in coherence. The concept of the platform was first discussed by the young people at the BSSSC and then went all the way to be inaugurated at the CBSS ministerial meeting I mentioned earlier. Yet our mutual engagements should be of a more systemic nature. A well-functioning model of such coordination already exists. The years' proven experience of interaction between the Barents Euro-Arctic Council and the Barents Regional Council ensures highly efficient and successful cooperation in the European Arctic. The mechanism of interaction are advanced and balanced there. This includes joint working groups which have been established between the two councils. Representatives of the regions are invited on a regular basis to the meetings of the Committee of Senior Officials and the ministerial meetings of the Barents Euro-Arctic Council and vice versa. And there is a constant exchange of information. I think it should be a good example for the cooperation in the Baltic Sea region as well. Another important avenue of the CBSS activity that Russia supports is fostering practical interaction in the Baltic region. We believe that in order to strengthen the project activities in the Baltic Sea region, it's necessary to build up the Council's financial capacity. We commend the record of the CBSS project support facility and Russia as its donor welcomes recent continuation of its operation for another 3 years period. Yet at this stage, it is worth considering the possibility of creating a bigger financial instrument, probably some kind of the Baltic Sea Cooperation Fund, which will use in particular the possibilities of public-private partnerships. Surely, whatever the size and the nature of the CBSS fund is, we would all benefit if there would be more project applications coming from partnerships involving regional and local authorities. On the one hand, it would most certainly contribute to the quality of the applications, and on the other hand, it would help to make sure that the projects reflect the actual needs of the people of the region, but also that the projects are feasible and sustainable. Speaking of all these measures, Russia recognizes that the CBSS is not the only multilateral cooperation format at the national dimension in this part of Europe. There are other organizations with similar agendas and geographical scope. Thus, Russia suggests once again to resume the coordination meetings of the intergovernmental councils in the North and the Northern Dimension partnerships at the political level. I would like to stress once again that we propose to resume such meetings at the political level because such meetings are held annually at a working level. It would give us an opportunity to effectively divide the work between different regional formats acting in the North, so Council of the Baltic Sea States, Barents Euro-Arctic Council, Arctic Council, and Nordic Council of Ministers, as well as Northern Dimension partnerships. It would allow us to avoid duplication and overlapping in activities of this format and achieve better synergy and coherence in different areas of cooperation. Finally, we all understand that the prospects of our region's development are largely linked to its young generation. And this issue was already raised by the previous speakers today. The youth cooperation is an investment in the future. Within the CBSS and together with other partners like the BSSSC, we have already achieved visible progress on this track. I mean such projects as the Baltic Sea Youth Dialogue, the CBSS Summer University, Regeneration 2030, as well as Eurofolk faculty program, which was hosted by our friends in Kaliningrad and Pskov. Moreover, this year, the youth is the priority theme for the CBSS project support facility, CALL, and 6 proposals aimed at empowering, supporting, and protecting children and young people and relating to each of the Council's 3 long-term priorities have already been approved for funding a few months ago. Again, I'm glad to note that Kaliningrad is represented among the project partnerships by the Immanuel Kant University. We welcome the launch of the Baltic Sea Youth Platform, which was already mentioned by the previous speakers. And this is a really good example of multi-level cooperation. It is encouraging that the pandemic didn't prevent it from starting the work. And we hope that the platform will be able to host face-to-face meetings as soon as possible. I'm sure that youth involvement in the Baltic Sea cooperation and in the CBSS activities in particular will continue increasing. In conclusion, I would like to say once again that Russia is strongly committed to the multilateral cooperation in the Baltic Sea region and that it is really a priority in the Russian foreign policy. And I would like to wish everyone here and the BSSSC as a whole success in all your important endeavors. And we look forward to our close cooperation in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. I can only comment that we have heard many important words and encouragement. And I think that both the regional authorities, especially in the BSSC, but not only, but also local authorities in the BSSC, I'm really thrilled to hear both from you and from CBSS and BSPC that close cooperation between us and close cooperation on those different levels of governance are very important. And we are really looking forward to even stronger links and implementation of common priorities. And there are really many of them, as we can see. And I'd like also to comment that we are really happy that we have such a good cooperation with the Russian partners and regions, and we hope that this cooperation will continue, and that maybe also other northwestern regions of Russian Federation will decide that it will be good to be more active in this cooperation, just to have an even stronger input on what is happening in the Baltic Sea area. Thank you very much for your words. And now we are trying to get Mr. Poppens online, and I hope we will be successful with that. Can you just wait a moment for me? Okay, so now we are using slightly different technology, and we hope it will work. Yeah. And just by way of introduction, we have had the Baltic Sea region perspective and the Russian perspective, and we believe that it's not possible to discuss the Baltic Sea region cooperation and think about the developments in this area without this background and this view from European Union, as many of the drivers come from there. So that is why we have invited Mr. Normund Poppens, Deputy Director General in the European Commission's Directorate General for Regional and Urban Cooperation. And we'd like to hear now to your words, Mr. Poppens, and I am using my phone. I'm speaking loud to the microphone here. So we hope we will have audio working perfectly, but no video. Mr. Poppens?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. I'm Normund Poppens, and I am Deputy Director General. Do you hear me well?
I do, and I hope that also the audience hears you.
Okay. So on behalf of my Commissioner Pereira, I'm extremely happy to address this very important event. So dear hosts, dear guests, this is an annual conference of the BSSSC. And that is one of the settings or organizations in the Baltic Sea area where we have many. Coming from one of those countries, I remember very well, when the Council of the Baltic Sea States was established in 1992, and 1 year later, this organization followed. Now, of course, quite fast also at the EU level, and you know that the Baltic Sea strategy has been there. It was the first macro-regional strategy for the European Union, and it functions very well. I think it brings together people and different stakeholders in solving our problems related to the Baltic Sea. So it always serves as a good example to that. On behalf of the Commissioner, I can tell you what is the situation with the multi-annual framework. We are very happy that it was passed in the summer, and now we are working very actively to put in place the regulatory framework. Of course, it takes time, but we hope that soon it will be completed for our regulation. That means we can also start implementing our mainstream programs, but also our European territorial cooperation programs, which are very relevant for the Baltic Sea area. Now we also have new kids on the block, as we call them, and particularly, of course, we have REACT-EU and Just Fund that we need to put together, but we also have Recovery and Resilience Facility, RRF, which will support reforms in all member states with a very large amount. And this is very important that all these instruments work together and complement each other. As I said, also on our ETC regulation, we have progressed quite well, and it is very close to the finalization, which means that also our Baltic Sea program, which will directly support the Baltic Sea strategy, I hope we can put it in place soon. And secondly, I hope that this time around, ETCs will not be the last ones to be approved. Now, there are very important elements. We are working on our programs, of course, and there we have to align them with our strategic goals, our policy objectives, on BRDF and cohesion fund. We have to see how it works. There are also specific objectives for these programs, for ETC programs. So negotiations are done. Also on programming, because as you know, we were not waiting for the regulations to be in place. We were actually we started informal dialogue. We sent out position papers also on all ETC programs, and this hopefully pays off, and we can approve those programs with a speedy way. Now, the Baltic Sea region, of course, has a long tradition of cooperation. But I do believe that the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region provides really unique platform, because it really is centered on the EU, but it also has all countries associated. And this is a very good example how we can try to solve the problems of such a common geographical denominator as the Baltic Sea. There is a very complicated multi-level cross-sectoral cooperation. Of course, there are different coordination councils, but also our programs. We have many ETC programs in the Baltic Sea area, something that we would have loved to change for new period, but probably we will keep. We will try to streamline together, because the point is that we need those programs. These programs need to support our efforts in the Baltic Sea. People who live there and solve problems, you know very well the priorities of the Baltic Sea region. I will not repeat them because we know them by heart, I'm sure. But I want to stress what is a new thing with the Baltic Sea region and young people. And this is the fact that the European Commission has set out a new youth strategy for the period 2019-2027, aiming to engage, connect, and empower young people. So this strategy also emphasizes the need to focus on effective implementation within the youth sector and beyond, and with renewed youth dialogue is extremely important. Of course, there is Erasmus Plus, European Solidarity Corps, which comes from our program, the new initiative, aims to provide young people space to solidarity. Now, Discovery EU initiative also provides opportunities for short-term learning experience. And I think there is a strong consensus to take forward and reinforce these programs. So I'm absolutely confident that we will, and we will probably have to finish current period, so that we will keep supporting intensively the Baltic Sea region and different organizations also in future very substantially from EU budget. Thank you so much. On behalf of my commissioner, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director, and we are really happy that using the different modes of technological tools, we have been able to get connected finally, and we do hope that everybody could really hear what you have been saying, and what is one that there have been many important points touched in this presentation, but I'd like to just put stress on one of them, and this is the information or the confirmation of the new youth strategy of the European Union until 2027, and I'm sure we in the Baltic Sea region and definitely in the BSSSC will have a closer look at the document and see what possibilities there are for our youth, and do our best to be strongly involved in the youth cooperation and support the youth cooperation. I would like now, thanking all the speakers of this part, I would like now to announce a 15-minute break, after which we will come back again. Please join us again, and we will repeat the speech of Mr. Pyrinemi. He was kind enough to say that he would try to come back to us. So either we will start with that speech after the break, or we will have some other arrangements. Anyway, let's meet again in 15 minutes, which means by my watch, 20 to 12. Okay, thank you. 20 to 12, let's meet with the technicalities, and we will start around 11:45. Thank you very much for now.